Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. For today's video, we're going to be looking at the results of the Special Championships in Seville, where I've just come back from. I was commentating this one, which is awesome, and I realized that last week I didn't do the Monterrey Regional results, so we're also going to have a look at those because Milwaukee is just coming up, so it's worth looking at the most recent Journey Together tournaments and all of that stuff. Before we get into the top 8 deck lists, let's look at the statistics. This is an 800 player tournament, of course. This is no cash, just championship points, so not necessarily the very best in the world were attending this one, although there still were a number of fantastic players involved. The day one meta was largely Dragapults. I think we're likely going to see it continue to remain around the sort of 18 to 20%. I can't see a reason for that to be changing, even with Gardevoir being a powerful, prevalent deck and being a difficult matchup for Pulse. I think the Dusk Pulse still has a decent chance. I think it's only really the straight Pulse that have really just like detonated by the Gardevoir builds. I think there's still counterplay there, at least with the Dusknoir approach. So that's something that I expect to just continue, to be honest. Dragapult's still proving itself to be really consistent and powerful, still one of the best Badoo users, even with the new decks popping up like the Joltik Toolbox, Raging Bolt still being popular, Golden Go all in the mix. They're all trying to fight the Pult and be aggressive into them, but I don't see it like losing steam anytime soon. Raging Bolt, second most popular, again, still a little surprising. I think if you want a straightforward Smash deck, it might still be better to be Golden Go. I do think the Bolt has a slightly better Pulse, but just like against other stuff, Bolt feels so bad, to be honest. Like, I don't like Bolt into Guardy or Golden Go. Don't like it into Terra Box. Not that that's super popular. And Dragon Ball still does have some counterplay. Not like a lot, but still enough, I think, where you can at least like deny a lot of the engine mons and do the usual counter catch stuff, you know? So, I don't know, Bolt is still probably overplayed from my estimation. Archidon's interesting as well. Like, don't really know where to place this one. I think this is likely gonna continue to drop because it doesn't have many great selling points. I don't think it's that solid into Pult. The poison package is annoying, of course. Like, that's the thing, the main driving force is that you can be aggressive into Guardy and Pult and deny the Fez draw, which they both really heavily rely on to get going. So that's the still like best selling point, but I feel like it's still awkward into Golden Go. I don't know, maybe Arch, I'm not giving it enough credit, but we're not seeing like great performances out of that deck, so I feel like it doesn't have the consistency to go that far in tournaments as like a real serious pick. For the best of the rest, the Miraidon Toolbox, the Joltik box, not super popular. I actually expected maybe this to be a bit more popular with the hype and the recent top 8 in Monterrey, but just a handful of people picking up that one. The Dengo Pult is a separate build. I don't know if I like this more or less than the straight Pult, the straight Dengo, I should say. Still trying to make my decision on that, to be honest with you. I think maybe you're less wrecked by late game Panic Badoo than a straight Dengo. I keep saying the same thing. The straight Dengo would be, where sometimes you're just like out of energy and they can trap you with Budgie and infinite lock you. And the tank Terapagos is dipping in popularity. Its metagame placement is worse when Terrabox dips out, obviously. The Flareon box still in the mix, and Charizard being that 2%. As we get to the best of the rest, we get to day 2. I'm all over the place. Dragapult still doing great, Gardevoir doing great, Bolt dipping a little bit, the Miraidon deck doing very well, so that's proving itself over and over again, I think, over the last couple of weeks to be a strong choice. Dengo and Arch still in the mix, with the Terrabox dropping a little bit, but not too much else to be said outside of the Ends Zoroark deck. Having a few pilots in that day 2, and some notable placements. For example, Harvey was 8-0 after day 1. We saw Fabian playing it as well, a high-profile European player. So there's definitely something around the end Zoroark, and it does seem like it's annoying for Dragapult, and then like pretty good into Guardy, because you have the Flame Body Cannon, and then you have weakness. So Gardevoir doesn't really have anywhere to go. So I imagine of any of these decks, you know, the sort of low percentage of Zoroark is probably going to start picking up a little bit. Don't necessarily know if it's going to make it into that sort of day 1 of the graphic, although people do love Zoroark and like want an excuse to play it. I do still feel like the Zoroark deck is going to be quite poor into Golden Go. I can see it being like pretty poor into Raging Bolt. How's the Arch matchup? Neither of them can really hit each other, which is kind of interesting. Don't really know about that one. Terrabox, pretty awkward for the Zoro, I think. But the fact that you're decent into the stage 2s is a big deal. Like Dragapult is a really annoying time in that matchup, especially if it's built how we're going to see it from the top 8 list, or the top 4 list, I should say, where there's Monkey Dory in there. Not necessarily the Turos, but at least just the heavy research, so the Budgie lock isn't going to do a huge amount. Yeah, I think Zoroark is like one of these better placed decks, similar to like the Blissey deck that we'll see in Monterrey, where it's like good into Dragapult. Well, the Zoroark's better into the Guardy, the Blissey's better into the Pult, but I guess Zoroark is like more balanced into both stage 2s. Let's have a look at some of the deck lists then. Yuan played the same list as Brent Tonneson from Monterrey, so the same winning deck list just the week prior. So back-to-back victories for this list, which means it's a really good list. Some interesting choices in here. No Buddy Poffin at all, even with the secret box. Like playing one Poffin just for a box target was something I would debate. But playing the very high vessel, the 4 Ultra, the box, just a lot of discard synergy to yeet the hand down low constantly is kind of strong. No Mew EX in the list, just having Cleffa to grasp. Has the Clefairy in here. The Quad Knight Stretcher. So even without the Mew, it's doing pretty well. Pretty good stuff. I still feel like Mew is like a great way to really detonate the Pulse, but you can beat them without it. Just having Fairy Zone alone with these guys is good enough. Like, you're already copying Phantom Dive, essentially, with Adrenabrains, and then you're hitting for weakness on your Guardy, so, like, you get to one-shot plus do the same Phantom Dive math. So it makes sense, anyway, to not need the Mew. The Mew just, like, really, really puts you over the top, I think. The Heavy Bravery Charm's still great on this stuff as well. Just a really flexible card, great on Budgie, great on, obviously, your single prizes, and then also good to tank up your basic EXs, just such a flexible card. Yeah, the 4 of the important stuff, essentially, is what we've gone for. And again, probably the list that we saw from Brent, and a handful of other strong European players as well, getting high placements in Seville. So, really solid list. Then we have Pedro with another interesting list. This one's of a Dragapult, and the Neo Up Energy is the big surprise for me here. I was having this big debate of like, why would you go Neo over the Sparkling Crystal? And my only logical conclusion was to play Jamming Tower, and there are 2 copies in the list. So Jamming Tower is a Disruptive Stadium card. It lets you be a little bit more control of the Budgie War, where you can do some Adrenabrain shenanigans and get surprise KOs during the game. And then obviously it also shuts down like EXP Share and Crystal. It shuts down Gardevoir's plays as well. It shuts down random high roll situations of shutting down TM Evolution. So there are big upsides to play the Neo Upper, and when you're cutting Arven completely from the list, there's like no difference between Crystal and Neo Upper except for the fact that you can jet headbutts, whereas the Neo Upper, like, you can do both if you find it, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's always better to find the Neo Upper than to find the Crystal naturally as well. So it does make sense to go down that direction. High on the ball search cards. The 4 block scouting rather than having a juggle of scouting and Jacques, which is interesting. We'll see some other lists also that go high on scouting. We saw it a few times on the stream, actually. I know Kim Pobega also went the 4 scouting just to really help you get into play. It also gives you better access to some tech Pokemon. Like I know Kim was playing Genesect, which is kind of interesting. So that's another like debate to have there. Like the more tech basics you run, obviously they come to the hand as well. So even Horlucha being more searchable via the Brock is kind of strong. Monkey Dory is still one of the big selling points of the straight Pult. I do think the straight Pult is really bad into Guardy, but at least double Jamming Tower makes it closer, I think. So yeah, I think a straight Pult does have to play jamming if they actually want to beat Gardevoirs consistently. So I do think that's a strong and smart adaptation there. Then we have Harvey's and Zoroark deck. I think a lot of people were trying to see just how far Zoroark could go, because this has been a strange deck in that like it was hyped when it first was revealed, but then before the set even came out, the hype had started to die off. But then the meta positioning of this deck became appealing with Gardevoir having back-to-back victories, right? So this type coverage of Night Joker just starts to become really appealing, where you can find easy Gust prizes with Boss and Prime on Guardy throughout the game, but then also you have Flame Body Cannon from Darmanitan, which is cracked. Also, that backdraft attack is good into like a lot more matchups than you would think. The Fire type coverage is still very good into Teal Masks and the Golden Go, of course. But even against like the new Joltik box, that backdraft can reach into the high numbers pretty sharpish. So you do get pretty dangerous with this card. The engine's kind of interesting, and I think we'll see another list from a high placing Zoro that still was playing the like trolley plus Arven Evo stuff. And that's typically what we have seen of the Zoroarks, but in this case it's just like, let's just cycle through the deck with the good supporter cards. And this is something we're seeing pop up more and more in all sorts of decks. Just play 4 Research, 4 Iono, because they're the only reliable supporters we have these days. And even with decks like this one that wants to play specific tools for certain moments, just say that like a Research Dig plus trades oftentimes gets you there for the majority of the time. The deck plays the Turo, the Prime, and Double Ends Castle, so you do have some nice pivoting. I'm always a little bit skeptical of like the one Reshiram, but I guess like in the majority of early game positions, you can find Flame Body Cannon prizes and still get towards it. It just feels so bad when this card is prized, you know. The weird thing is like you never feel it's actually more valuable than a Bull Search card a lot of the time, especially when you're facing all these evolving decks so often that like Darmanitan is just always more important than Reshi anyway. So I guess you just kind of have to accept that's the meta we're in. And Zoroark's basically only a pick if Dragapult and Guardia are going to be number 1 and 2 of popularity, which I think probably is going to start becoming more and more the case. But yeah, I think Zoroark sort of nettles in there quite nicely as a punishing counter pick deck. More interesting choices is the Cleffer in here, similar to how we saw Brent at the Cleffer in his God of War list. Just to have either a defensive play or like, oh, I'm against the Budju, let's just Cleffer up, make sure that I'm getting towards Zoro and still like just pumping through with Darmanitan. Kind of a cool concept. Piotr was able to get top 4 with Terra Box, so Terra Box isn't like completely fading away. It also did well in Monterrey, also got a top 4 from Yurko. And again, pretty solid list, nothing too shocking with the 60 here from Piotr. Just has the cookie cutter Pokemon lineup. Yeah, this is just a really straightforward 60. Is there anything stand out here? Not really, right? It's like very similar to the initial. Oh, it is the Tord list. Yeah. I was trying to find a difference and there just isn't one. So yeah, the Tord 60 getting a top 4, which is nice. Thomas with also the straight Dragapult. This is one that has some of those tech basics, the bundle and the Genesect in here. Genesect with the 3 tools to try and shut down some A-specs from opponents, which is very nice. Obviously, the Prime Catch is a good one to lock down opponents' unfair stamps, crystals, Secret Box even for God of War. That's a consistency piece that they rely on. You know, there's a lot of people that will be still Arvening for item cards when you break your Budju lock, and a lot of the time that A-spec would be the thing they search for, so establishing this is a pretty big deal. Monkey Dory is still just absolutely cracked. It's interesting to see the energy split this way around rather than going heavy luminous that we've seen before. Like typically you see 3 luminous, but having the 1 basic dark just as a search/stretcher option. The thing is, it's kind of wonky with just the energy like this. Like if you're doing this approach, you almost want the 3rd fire in here as well as the extra space. Otherwise, you probably do want to go back to luminous. I don't know, why is it not 2-2-1-2, you know? I feel like the 2nd luminous is better than 3rd psychic. Slightly. The 3 I understand is kind of like wonky because any time you see the 3rd and there's already 1 attached, it feels really bad, but the odds of seeing the back-to-back 2 is just not that high. I don't know, I feel like 2-2-1-2 is better than 3-2-1-1. Slightly. The supporter lineup is also super kooky. I know that you're reconning, so you can always be like scouting for the ones in the right situation, but the 1 Crisp, the 1 Turo, the 1 Research, still high Arven because you still need the relatively high Arven for the rescue board, right? Just to get into Itch. So I understand that. Yeah. Interesting mashup of supporters being like, I'm not quite sure which one's better in which situation. Or just like a bit of min-maxing there. Kind of funky. We did see a decent amount of Brock's scouting on the over the weekend. Arthur Vincent with the Frostlass Monkey Dory with a pretty high-profile placement here. Nothing too shocking about the list, to be honest with you. The Double Devo, definitely strong right now in the metagame. I feel like this is just going to continue to be a dangerous deck, especially if Zoroark picks up pace to be the like one of the counter strategies to the Pult and the Guardi. that just makes another good matchup for this boring, annoying deck, you know, where you can Devo the Zoroarks now as well. Oh, that's gonna be so gross. Yeah, this deck is scary, honestly. Like, it obviously has some like hard losses, but also just the best decks in the format struggle against that deck for sure. I think the biggest issue was obviously like the lack of engine and how long it takes you to actually get into games, but you play all the good supporters to try and get going. Bolly played Blender, Guardy, played a 3-2-3 line with a slightly thicker physical Pokemon line, so you can still research into this or Iono into this under item lock, which is important. Didn't play Fez, kind of a surprise. I do like that card. The Quad Bravery Charm, that has a lot of Bravery Charms. Even with 4 Arven, like, you really don't need 4 Arven for Bravery. That feels like way too high. Part of the reason why we're seeing higher Bravery Charm counts is because there's the cutting of Arven, so you can just like research and find them naturally. That feels like a lot to me. Seeing the Evo despite... So wow, yeah. Double Candy plus Evo. There's some interesting stuff going on from Bolly's list. No Nest Ball either. Just Artisan for your monkeys and your Screamtails. Surely with Arven you play 1 Nest Ball. Some of these counts are so weird from Bolly. Surely Bravery Charm cut for 1 Nest is good. Arven flip-flop with Iono seems really obvious as well. Only 1 Countercatcher. No Boss and just double Screamtail too. Those are some wild counts. That's such a weird deck. So Kim, yeah, who also made top 8, like I was saying, similar to Thomas, also playing the Genesect. Seemed like a really good tech this weekend. Also had the Corner Maractus, that won him a game on stream. Has the 4 tools coming on in the deck, similar to the approach of having Jamming Tower in your list. Like, this is the way to do it as well if you just play Defiance in Dragapult, so you can actually 230 stuff. Like Mew EX, for example. With the Bravery Charm in the Guardy deck. This is a quad Brock Scouting. So still the quad Arven, because you need to rescue board Budgie, and also it helps your Genesect to an extent. And obviously it helps you get Stamp. But then, yeah, the 4 Brock Scouting in here. No research whatsoever, so it's just Track Cloak draw throughout the entire game, and Iono. Heavy boss, heavy Countercatcher, just Gust every single time you need it. Either for Panic Itchy or Panic Corner, but also just to make sure you're capitalizing on Phantom Dive throughout the entire game and just not getting close to running out ever. Yeah, the Straight Pulse really are dangerous. I think Straight Pult is slightly better into Pult Dusknoir, so it's like the mirror-favored list, but you're much worse into Dragapult. So we have to... Oh, sorry, you're much worse into Gardevoir. So we have to start juggling that and like trying to figure that out. I feel like a Dragadusk never has space for a Monkey Dark. That would kind of be the only way to try and balance that, right? Because we're seeing the straight Dragapults in this instance make all the top 8s, and none of the Dragadusks. Like, where's the highest Dragadusk? Top 32 from Kai. So, yeah, it feels weird to be like slightly unfavored in Mirror by not having the Dustoirs, but Dustoir covers so much random stuff. There was a 10-person ASIM, so we have the Raging Bolt here in 9th place with a couple of the baby attackers. I really like the Mew EX in the deck. This has been popularized already, but just something that I was also thinking about early on. And then there was one of the Joltik Toolbox that got 10th place as well, so it did make the asymmetrical cuts. Pretty interesting list. Has the Gravity Mountain. Only has the 1 Prime Catcher switching out, and that's become... Well, it actually also has the Iron Leaves as well, so it has a couple of the switching outs, but this is starting to be a bit of an issue. If there are going to be corner trapping strategies, I do feel like something like a Kieran could be better than the Grav Mountain, because it's so difficult to find at the right time to make a Pikachu KO, a Guardy, or a Pulse. At least having Kieran in the list is a switching out, but also like gearable to maybe have it. I feel like that's probably better, honestly. The Grav Mountain's just like impossible to find when you want, right? It's such a like once in a blue moon situation. I see the vision, but still. There's a Flareon in top 16 with a Pidgeot line. What the? I haven't seen this list. Wow. It's that boy Cyrano again. Oh my god, the power of jewel-seeking Cyrano candy and just popping the heck off. What the... That's sick. I did not see this list. Interesting. Type coverage, obviously. Flareon's just solid right now. The counter gain as well. Counter gain for the burning charge. Counter gain's interesting. Because obviously you can't Carnelian. What's this for? For Blood Moon? I guess maybe for... I doubt it would be for Rondo or Magical Charm, because these are into Pult, and that's when you're pumping out the damage, surely. Like, you're going to be the aggressor, I would have thought. What an interesting list. One Serrano, one Jacques. Oh, there are times where you can dual seek for Jacques Candy, then go Jacques for second Noctowl plus Pidgeot. Oh, gross. So many combos. What a sick list. That's very cool. What else? Fabian's Zorro was different enough from Harvey's to have a look at. This was the Arven Evo build, but interestingly not Trolley, just Poffin, so you can just Poffin Evo, and kept the Prime Catcher around. So again, Turo Prime, couple Ends Castle gives you a bit of safety. In this case, you have the 1/1/1 Tool Split. Power Glass is definitely very good for the Night Joker, copying Flame Body. Does really keep the pressure on, and most importantly, it gives you something to do if they're going to just try and like Itchy Pollen into the face of you if you go down to 0 energy. And then you're like, I actually can't reload with PP up. Couple interesting supporters, the Cypher Maniac in here, like old times of Zorro. The Hooper EX for a higher damage output option, fighting type coverage, and it's also a non-ability attacker into Cornerstone, so it covers like just enough things to be worthwhile. That's one of the small issues of Zoroark, is it's pretty poor into Cornerstone. You have to try and like Flame Body Cannon a bunch otherwise, and that sounds really bad if they're like a healing build. So yeah, interesting list from Fabian with the Maractus in here as well. You've got to have a lot of bench management going on with the list, but I guess you do have Turo and Pad to try and make it happen. The one boss, one counter catcher is quite low on Gust, though. I feel like I guess you have the Prime as well. Yeah, maybe it's okay. Yeah, that sounds fine. We can live with that. What else do we have? Let's have a look at some other spicy stuff. There was a Poison Arch in top 32. The Kieran's that we've seen before. Nothing actually too special about that list. A Dragazard in top 32 as well. Interesting, couple tools, but also the Jamming Tower in here. Genesect. Still feel like I'd like a Monkey Dory in here, but I guess you don't float the energy as you'd like. I'm always thinking that like Phantom Dive is just so good with Monkey Dory for protection, mirror like this has to be awkward in mirror, right? But I suppose Charizard may be better than Dust, or like as good as Dust Noir into the Guardy side of things, and you just try and play Zardish when you can. At least gives you some pressure without risking everything with them copying Phantom Dive. And then like late on, you can try and Phantom Dive sweep, maybe. If they overcommit to a damaged thing, you can try and punish that way. I guess that creates some interesting counterplay. Much else interesting going on here. A Slacking from Bernardo Diaz, who's like been around the block for a long time. Very cool to see. The quad boomerang, the quad jet, the double counter gain. So you can do some great swings. It's got the Pidgeot engine. Like, the fan rotom is just so cool for this, right? It's just so cracked to get your stage 2s online. It feels crazy in a Body World to be playing a quad candy deck, but here we are. It still has the Great Tree TM Evo, so it's like trying to play Zard, but a bit more proactive. The Black Belt's training, so you can one bung some stage 2s. Got the Dusk in here as well. Definitely a cheeky deck. Definitely fun. And, like, Fan Rotom makes this copium-looking deck actually, like, not terrible. He says. Oh, I also missed that there was a Zoro Arch in here as well. everyone's stacking Ace Nullifier, bro. It's becoming more and more the norm. This deck doesn't have much bench space to float, but I can see that in other decks being like such a good weapon. There was a Hydreigon. I guess we have to talk about it in top 64. We got this on stream as well. This is a list that's playing Pidgeots and a Dunce. Some interesting notes. It's obviously TM Evo with Arven. Something I recently realized is it has a Find a Friend attack on the Zwilus to find 2 Pokemon. That's actually kind of good in the face of Budgie. Had the one Crispin that you can quick search out, so there's a world where you can like Crispin countergain Neo Upper and get a naked Hydreigon powered up in a turn, which is kind of gross. And Obsidian is pretty crazy, right? You can't deny the fact that Obsidian is very, very good right now. You have Find a Friend on the Dunsparce as well, so you do have a few like decent leads in the deck. The double Budgie, the double Dunce, like this just gets you playing against Itchy Pollen a lot of the time, gets you into the game. And honestly, when Pulse and Guardians are just trying to slow roll their setup, just getting into Obsidian is so hard for those decks to beat, right? So tough to deal with this card that early on, especially if the Guardian is cutting boss and they can't Scream Tail X, it's a terror. And Pult can't cleanly mop this up if they're going straight Pult and no Dusk. Like, the 2 best decks do kind of fall to this. The thing is, it's just like so inconsistent and grim into other things. Like, your openings are just so weak with this. Like, we tried this earlier on in the week, and it still just had some like really poor openers and just did feel grim at times. You're committing all your eggs into one Hydreigon in so many games, and sometimes that like just doesn't come off. There was some Raging Bolts still doing okay. Just out of top 64 was some of these Terrapagos, actually just inside top 64. There was a Hops deck in 128. I think there was a couple of them as well, actually. I think there was also a build with the Valiants that I saw. Magnus bringing a Knackle list, a trapping Knackle approach. The Altara EX in here, healing 20 from each of your Mons. Okay, sure, why not? Mimikyu in here. This is a wonky deck. The double redeemable ticket. Oh no. That's what Controls had to resort to, huh? Sad times. This really is just a corner trap list, right? Corner trap or safeguard. Those are your 2 win cons. Okay, if you say so. There was a Blissey as well, not doing too badly. We'll look at a more successful Bliss in a moment. There was a Copperaja that made day 2 as well. This was like a funny online deck, right? Where you nose quake and damage your own bench for the Monkey Dories. The deck has Assemble Alloy as well as Turbo Energize and Heavy Baton to like keep the nose quakes going. Pretty dangerous damage output, right? 260 plus Monkey Dory. Like, this is actually a dangerous deck. Like, clearly it's going to be like clunky and a bit cope at times, but the fact that you can go Trolley, Energize, power up Kufant. If your opponent can't deal with this Kufant and you get straight into the big nose, stuff's certainly happening. Kooky deck for sure. Is it better than Blissey? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it's better into like Raging Bolt and stuff. Like Blissey cannot beat Raging Bolt, right? So maybe there's something there. I have to imagine not many people brought it. There was a Slowking that made day 2 as well. Has the Gigas Annihilate Kyurem Conk combination. The Max Rod in here. I'm not sure if this is the one we saw on stream. Don't think it was actually, but cool to see nonetheless. Yeah, I think that's some of the main highlights of Seville. It was a lot of fun to commentate. The first time that Europe had this format. Kind of interesting how it played out. Because it wasn't a regional, we didn't see all the best Europeans, so I still think there's some like uncovered stuff maybe from this meta that could be coming out in Milwaukee. Let's quickly look at Monterrey as well. We've already looked at Brent's list because Yuan played the same 60, but again, just huge nod to Brent for being the best player, the highest placing player in the ladder. We also have Fernando Cifuentes. It's such a shame we didn't have the final of Brent and Fernando against each other because Fernando brought a very interesting like rogue pick in the Blissey Monkey Dory deck. Has Roaring Moon to have gouging option, and it also has the Cornerstone Ogopon to be somewhat a frustrating attacking wall. Obviously, healing off this cornerstone can be good for people that have like some half answers, but nothing actually good to get through this guy. So that's kind of cool. It's a trolley build, has the rigid bands, so the Blissey is really chunky. TM Evo obviously gets your energy cycled out of the deck, so you can be happy switching around. Fernando is definitely an interesting player, right? World champion, then is starting to make, because he's so young, he doesn't have that body of work yet, but he's like still proving himself to be really outlandish with his deck choice, but then like finds pockets of the meta. I feel like Blissey's only truly bad against Dengo Polt and Raging Bolts. I think those are like the big bad matchups, and I guess Roaring Moon as well, but that's not like a popular archetype. Because I think regular Dengo doesn't have a good enough answer because you have Monkey Dory healing against Strike It Rich or Dedance. For the Cornerstone to just be a huge problem. And then Raging Bolt should just like wipe through you, but everything else is like a good matchup. Yoko played Terrabox. Didn't really want to highlight this too much outside of the fact that it plays Rescue Board, which I think is strong, and then does also copy the Jamming Tower from Raging Bolt lists. So this is a cool Terrabox. I do think Rescue Board is really good in the deck. I think Brock Scouting is terrible in the deck, though. Like, you have to not play this supporter card on most turns. I don't know what specific situation indicates that you have to Brock Scouting for something, because most of the time you would Brock Scouting because you can't play item cards, but then, like, you'd be looking to find a Noctowl that then can't get item cards anyway, and if you're not dual seeking for items anyway, like, why would you ever Brock? It just feels such like a counterintuitive card compared to this just being like a Buddy Buddy Poffin or 4th Ultra. This just feels really weak. But I like the Jamming Tower idea. I really like the Rescue Board idea as well. So because Noctowl Trap is like the only Copium thing that people can do a lot of the time, I'm trying to say it's Copium, but it's actually really good, right? Because it stops a Wellspring chain just because you can't attach Retreat Noctowl that turn if you want to keep going. So this way, if you find an owl, you can still Rescue Board Crispin and keep up Wellspring. Kind of the idea. There were some more Dango Pults in this top 8. It kind of didn't do much in Europe, but definitely seeing a bit more play out there. Again, the Genesect in here, even though it's just Vengeful Punch. Interesting to see just the one Fire, the one Psychic, and no Crispin, so it's like an afterthought, mostly just Dracloak draw, but the fact that you have Pulse as an attacker is still like nice, I suppose. You can somewhat weave in, but this is mostly a Dengo deck, I would say. And are they playing the same list, Grant Shen? Yeah, so same list from a handful of players here. Edda playing Dragapult. Straight Pult, not too much to be said about the list. We have Tyler Matthews, who was one of the first to bring the Joltik box, and we're seeing more results from that as well. Had that good day 1-2 conversion in Seville, so worth mentioning. Has the Corner Maractus in here. Not sure if there's just a bad matchup that you need to answer that for. Tanner bringing the straight Dragapult as well. Lux Cape as well being picked up by a few. This Genesect is showing up in more and more situations. There was a Roaring Moon Dunce in top 16. Haven't seen this in a while. Moon. It's been a long time. Has the neutralization zone in here. Just saying that there aren't enough stadium bounces in the game right now. It's weird to have 3 Artisan though, because like most Dragapults and Guardies won't have a counter stadium to you. I guess they see Artisan and then start dumping their Artisans for free. But yeah, definitely some jump scare there with neutralization zone. That's quite funny. Cawthon with the Golden Go Pult as well. This one is a Crispiny build with at least the 2 Psychic. Has the Vengeful Punch in here also. A lot of people packing the punch at the moment. What else we got? Interesting deck-wise. Oh, I didn't look at the overall statistics either. We don't have the day 1-2 the same way, but we can see that Dragapult, Bolts, Dengo, Guardi all doing okay. If you want to look at matchup conversion stuff, of course, there's still labs.limitless. If you want to look at that, I should really be on that website, to be honest. I think next time I'll just be doing it from there. so we can look at matchup data in a bit more detail. That's going to be a breakdown I do in another video anyway. There was a Charizard Dustoir that made 64. Oh, wow. There's a lot going on here. The Dunstrow engine with enriching energy has the Rabska as well. No TM Evo, but you just say that I can Rabska before my opponent gets a Pult because everyone's slow Pulting. Has the double Drayton in here. What a beast. What is this now? Quad Candy. Drayton Briar, the one research, the one Jacques. Okay, this is cooking. This is serious cook. One Trading Places Dunsparce. Answers on a postcard. Did they simply not have enough Finder Friends? Surely. Or it's just like some sort of BM thematic thing. Because they're certainly here for a fun time. What the heck is that? Enriching energy. That is wild. Okay, I gotta look at the results here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't want to rinse. That's not me trying to rinse him. I'm just like, there's some unique deck building going on for sure. Oh wow, Kieran played Frostas Monkey to top 64. This is a serious deck, guys. This is a serious deck. It looks unserious, but it's actually very good. Any other surprising one-off decks? We've gone over most of the top tier stuff. Ceruledge, Milotic, Future, Mamoswine. I guess we'll look at the swine, shall we? Oh, you swine. Oh, it has the Annihilate in here. The 1/0/1 Annihilate for the destined fight. Oh, yes. Send them to the discard. Let's go. Yeah, not too much to be said. Has the Blaziken as an attacking option as well. The Smolder Salt. Broken. Blaziken's just waiting for the 70 HP Torchic. Then it's a real deck. Trust. It's another Monkey Dora user. Say no more. Okay, I think that more or less wraps it up. I think my main takeaways from the last couple of tournaments is that it's still that tug of war of Guardian Pulse. I think the straight Pult is like winning right now, but I do think there's still reason to play Dustoir Pult. And then like Zoroark's going to come into this mix, I think. I also think the Joltik box is going to be like still around for sure. Golden Go and Golden Go Pult weren't really represented enough in Europe. I think those will still be big at majors. I suppose Bolt is still always going to be around. It's still decent into Dragapult. Arch, I can kind of take it or leave it. But I guess the Poison package is still just best in that deck, and the Poison package is solid. Terrabox has got 2 top 4s. I feel like it's in at least that place now where it's like, oh, I don't have to at least worry about like random clef keys that were at the start of the format, or random Tank Terrapagos. I feel like Tank Terrapagos doesn't need to be in the game because Terrabox is nowhere near popular enough, but that does at least open the way for Terrabox to be like an unchecked deck in the game, and then it's like, how good actually is it against the turn 2 Buju? And like, how consistent is it to pump into pump when you're being Buju locked and countercatched and whatnot? I don't know, those are my main thoughts. I feel like, so I'm playing not Milwaukee, I'm playing in Portland for this format, and right now I can't move myself away from Dragapult. I feel like Dragapult Dustoir is still the main thing that I'm testing the most. But that's with some cynicism, because I know a lot of the best players will be on Guardia as well. Let me know your thoughts down below. I will be on labs.limitless next time, so we can look at a bit more detail. But just a quick rundown of Seville and of Monterrey. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Cheers.